Are we in love? If you have to ask, the answer is probably no.
Argofunk Book Review, Argofunk Book Review.
After the disaster that was the Steven and Cheryl wedding book, Steven has been spending a lot of time with their next-door neighbor, Cheryl Thomas. He's been giving her driving lessons, and they're just the best of friends. Since they're always together, everyone assumes that Steven and Cheryl are dating. Jessica's excited because they're the first interracial couple at Sweet Valley High. Which is only true if you ignore all the other interracial couples, and the fact that Steven doesn't go to Sweet Valley High. Whatever. Obviously, Jessica doesn't care about facts. She wants to brag that her brother is the most progressive person in town. So she gives him a hard time about Cheryl and they should totally go out. Steven thinks about it. He likes Cheryl, but he hasn't thought about her as a potential love interest. Why not? Is it because she's black? Is he secretly racist? Get used to hearing these questions because Steven is going to ask them a lot in this book. After he does anything with Cheryl, he spends at least a page wondering if he's racist. It must be hard to have a conversation with him because it takes him a minute to think over everything he says. Cheryl is the same way. Her family gives her a hard time about dating Steven, and she starts to worry that she's racist because she's never dated a white person before. Steven and Cheryl have a driving practice, and they laugh over how the entire town is shipping them. How could anybody think they're dating? They're obviously just friends. They go to a restaurant together, cuddle up next to each other in a booth, and hey, I figured out why people think they're dating. A group of skinheads ruins the non-date with a racist joke about Cheryl's tan. A big confrontation follows, and no, wait, this is Sweet Valley High. Everything leads to romance, not consequences. So Steven and Cheryl comfort each other, and next thing you know, they're making out on the beach. I guess this means Steven is not immune to the family curse of making out with everyone you meet. Everyone at school gossips about the new interracial relationship. Jessica wants to show off that she likes black people, so she publicly volunteers to bake the cake for the wedding. Oh yeah, I didn't mention that yet. Cheryl's dad is marrying a white woman. That was a big deal in the last book when Cheryl moved into town, so really this is the Cheryl racism book, part 2. The wedding gives us 2 subplots. First, the twins make a cake and everybody laughs as Jessica fails spectacularly. Second, Cheryl tries to write a wedding toast, but she can't figure out what to say. Whenever she writes something, it turns into an angry lecture about interracial couples. If they wanted an angry lecture at the wedding, they would have asked Elizabeth to write the vows. Cheryl hangs out with her friend Rosa, who says she's glad they're not in Jessica's sorority. But she is in the sorority. There was a whole book about that. Continuity! Maybe she quit the sorority because of Lila. Lila is openly racist against Cheryl and Steven, as are Suzanne and Bruce. In other words, only rich white people are racist. Poor white people like me get a pass. Cheryl and Steven spend time together, but it doesn't feel right. She doesn't enjoy kissing him, and she's worried that she's racist for not being attracted to Steven. Steven invites her to go dancing with all his college buddies, including Martin. And he starts to worry he's racist because he invited his black buddy to meet his black girlfriend. And to make things worse, there's instant chemistry between Martin and Cheryl. Yeah, this relationship isn't going to work out. Steven and Cheryl try their hardest, but they just can't feel any passion towards each other unless a skinhead has insulted her. That's a weird catalyst for romance, by the way. They both have a date with each other's families, and they feel worse and worse. Cheryl tries to break up with Steven, but she gets interrupted. He tries to break up with her, but he gets interrupted. Steven gets a lecture on relationships from Elizabeth, while Cheryl gets a lecture on relationships from her stepmother. They break up at the wedding when Cheryl gets the wedding toast. It's one of those weird breakups where they look at each other and instantly understand what the other person is thinking, which you think would make them a good couple. They can read each other's minds, but no! Psychic powers don't improve their relationship. Cheryl passes her driving test, she tells Steven the good news, and they talk at length about the moral of the book, which is that relationships should be built on love. Steven admits he only dated her to prove that not all white people are awful, while Cheryl admits she only dated him to prove the racists wrong. Now that she knows she can date white guys without any major issues, Cheryl runs straight into Martin's arms and never dates any white guys again. Which, is the total opposite of the lesson she just learned. The end. Post-book follow-up. Wow, that ending doesn't fit the book at all. Oh well, it fits the series to have a feel-good moral about true love conquering all. Even if the series' definition of true love is more like temporary infatuation. Seriously, how many times have Elizabeth and Jessica cheated on their boyfriends? I found this book to be interesting with the topic of racism until about a third of the way through. That's when they overanalyze every little thing that happens, to the detriment of plot advancement. The analysis becomes tiresome because all it does is ask the same questions over and over and over again without answering them. It is interesting to question if the Wakefields are secretly racist, yeah, but it's not that interesting to have Steven say, "Am I racist?" 10 times in a row. The book is repetitive in general. Whenever there's a scene of Steven with the Wakefields, it's balanced by a near-identical scene of Cheryl and her family. Steven and Cheryl go on a series of near-identical dates, and I don't know. When I reread the book, I skimmed the entire second half because very little happens. It's just dragging out the inevitable breakup for a long period of time. I guess if I was in a more literary mood, I would analyze all of the drafts of Cheryl's wedding toast and see how it changes over time, but I have a feeling that would be way more effort than it's worth. Overall, the book has good intentions, but that doesn't save it from a weak, repetitive plot. Like the other racism books, this book has received complaints that its unintentional racism is worse than its intentional racism. Like I said earlier, I did enjoy the book, but only about a third of the way through. So I give Sweet Valley High, number 94, Are We in Love? A 3.3 out of 10.